You are listening to Spotlight Sessions with Justin Bamforth. The program provides an inside look at the creative field through exclusive conversations with industry professionals. Every episode is recorded live each month in the Adobe Creative Career Discord. Check out the show links to learn more and join for free. This episode was previously recorded before a live listening audience. My next guest, Rhea Rendon, also known as Romi, is a community creator and traveling designer who thrives at the intersection of work and play, or what she calls third spaces, where they've helped foster meaningful connections across the creative community. Now, Rhea also does design work for Hello World Studios and Zero Base, hosts events as an MC, and most recently just started working with AIGA Los Angeles through the Adobe Creative Apprenticeship program, which we will certainly get into tonight. Rhea, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited for this session. This is exciting. My first time, so I'm really glad to be here and share my experience with everyone and give my insights and hopefully inspire some of you guys to go for your creative paths.
Yes. Now, let's tackle this third spaces concept, because I had never heard about this before. What exactly is a third space and how do you build these?
Oh, okay. So what is a third space? So what is the intersection of home and work? Where do people find that extra break to finally unwind? That is a third space. Because third spaces are places for people to unwind that's not just their home, but find a community where they can find like-minded people to hang out. And that's what I really love. As someone who loves people, as someone who wants to create opportunities for people, I create experiences for people to have time to hang out with one another. And that's why I built these communities, because I've seen, even since COVID happened, and some of the younger generations who want a creative community, I build those things so they have a place to always come back to and find friends. And I always enjoy it when my friends or my creative friends come to these communities and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm friends with this person. I'm friends with this person. And it just makes me happy that everyone gets to know each other.
Let me ask you this. With the third spaces, are they physical locations or can it be something virtually?
So it can be both, actually. They can be physical spaces or virtually. But for me, I prefer in person or physical spaces because that's where the face-to-face interactions happen. That's where the communication, the conversations happen, and it flows and friendship just blossoms. And I curate these experiences with like workshops or like guest speakers or just like a picnic overall to bring these creatives just to start talking to one another and getting to know one another as friends.
What's the conversation like, or how does it get started? Are there activities during these third space events, or how do they work?
Okay, so what started out as a conversation where back in college, I would say some people or my classmates would be like, "Oh my gosh, where can I find a place to meet creatives regularly? Where should I start? How do I find opportunities?" And it made me thinking like, "Oh my gosh, we're lacking those types of communities." So with a hold and be w- uh, to make that happen, I was able to collaborate with a professor named Prislim, and then she built Hello World Studio, and then me and her had some ideas, and we were like, oh my gosh, these young creatives don't have a place. Let's make something. And then that's how we started doing Hello World Studio, where a bunch of people, a bunch of students, she's the founder, of course. She brought me in. She told me like, "Oh my gosh, I want to create this community where young creatives can regularly come every 2 months. Oh no, once every 2 months to this space to share their ideas, share their projects, and work with another." And it ended up becoming a regular thing. And as for like Creative Run Club, me and my buddy were like, "Oh my gosh, there's not a lot of content creators that we can find a community with." So he created Creative Run Club, and we do monthly events now where it's been growing, where people who've never done video before, people who've had experience building videos, are able to come to just one place or a city that we host in and come together to do a photo walk or a video walk and just meet other creators and learn with one another how to do video. And it kind of like helps it helps releasing the fear of being a beginner, because the whole concept of it is to have a great experience, but also make mistakes and learn within a community. And it gives you the empowerment to do more when you're around other creatives or other like-minded people to create.
We often strive so hard to be perfect, right?
Hmm.
We want to impress our peers, our bosses. We want to make people see our worth. But when we do make a mistake, it sucks. And sometimes we want to cover it up, pretend like it never happened, make excuses, never let people see our perceived weaknesses. But Rhea, you take a different approach to all of that, don't you?
Yes, definitely. The whole concept of what I do of with communities is to encourage mistakes, to encourage failures, even if you're a beginner, even if you're a professional. We all make mistakes. Because honestly, I started my content creation life a few months ago. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. I did not know how to use a camera. I didn't know anything. But the communities that I was in, they were very thoughtful. They were very nice to me, saying like, it's okay, you can make a lot of mistakes. Your first few videos are going to be so bad, but from then on, it's going to get better. And then here I am now, where I'm already starting to do videos with, some companies that I never thought I would be doing. I know how to color grade. I'm learning how to do voiceovers, and it's great because there's always a build up to learning more. And that's where mistakes happen. You kind of like need it, because you will never know if that one mistake can be an opportunity to find something that you never knew before, and it really elevates your creativity.
Now, on that note, with content creation in particular, because obviously that is part of your expertise, what
Yes.
have you learned about the actual work behind creating the content and putting yourself out there in a public way? What are some things that like really surprised you about that process?
It was scary being in front of a camera, acting, actually, because sometimes you would have to build this storyline and you're like, oh my gosh, I have a great idea to be part of a camera and act this out. But you really have to, the first few videos are going to be really bad of acting and everything, but content creator rise, it gets better. It gets better over time. And you get to see different sides of you in camera, and you're like, oh my gosh, this looks so bad and embarrassing. You're like, I don't want to see this, but it just shows how you're growing. And sometimes, um, what I've learned also with content creation, it's um, that I can make stories that I never thought I would be able to do. Um, I get to learn how to make my own storyboard. I get to learn on what color grading is. Oh my gosh, color grading is like a lifesaver for me. I love the fact that I can turn from a black and white footage to something that is like cinematic. And then when you see that you created this work, you're like, wow, I did this. I made a lot of mistakes, but wow, this is so cool. So seeing after everything I've learned and failed, but seeing the progress from what that is, I feel like it really is nice.
What advice can you give to like some younger content creators in finding that unique voice, kind of standing out from everyone else? How do you go about that?
Okay. So finding that voice, don't focus too much. If you already know what you want, like especially like doing a niche thing where it's like graphic design, then do that. But if you're someone who is still starting out, doesn't know where to start, I would say test out your camera. Shoot a lot of things. Be bad at like, making mistakes and everything. But if you have a camera and you go out there and shoot whatever you like, it starts coming to you. You will start finding that niche of what you want and you don't want. And yes, quantity over quality. Like it's about experimenting. And quality will only come, or the niche thing that you've been wanting will come through after all those different shots. And I would say an advice for creators who want to start doing content creation is that just shoot a lot of things that you like. Start doing it because it will really show you how to gain confidence being on camera. And I think that's one of the things a lot of young creatives are scared of is being on camera. So learn how to be on camera first, make a lot of mistakes, because that's where you're going to get you're going to be more polished and more experienced later on.
Do you think it's more important to just to be authentic more so than perfect?
Yes. Yes. It really is. Because people can tell on camera if you're authentic versus perfect. Like honestly, I would rather be authentic than perfect. I've tried to be perfect many times and be on camera, but I think whenever I'm really speaking true to my heart about a certain topic, the audience really does know I'm being authentic about it, and I know I'm being authentic about it because it really helps. It really shows that the audience can see the energy from it. That's what I can say.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's really difficult. It's a challenge, I mean, content creators make it look easy because they've been doing it for a while,
Yeah.
or they're learning it as they go along. But it goes back to confidence, which doesn't always come easily to creative professionals. Early on in my career, I struggled with confidence. Did you struggle with it too, or have you always been naturally confident?
I've struggled. I couldn't even talk about my work for like when I first began because I thought my work wasn't enough. I have imposter syndrome. I thought it wouldn't work out. Um, I've experienced what a lot of young creatives are going through. And especially now, like I'm gonna be honest, I still go through those waves of insecurity and sometimes if I think my work is really good or not. But confidence really comes in when you finally see your worth just a little bit, like even a bit of your worth that you see is like, oh my gosh, maybe I can do something. Those what ifs of like moments where you think you can do it is the biggest thing for is like the biggest thing that I have that I'm really happy that I actually went forward with because there are moments where I'm like I overthink and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But then I'm like, what if it did happen? What if I did try? What if who knows what will I do? And usually those outcomes really become the best things that I never thought would happen.
Was there like a defining moment that really helped you overcome it like tremendously, or was it like a slow progress, like a little bit here, a little bit there, you get a little bit more
It was a
confident?
slow it was a slow progress. I think the moment when I saw on social media or some of my content creator friends or like graphic design friends getting the things that they've wanted, I'm like a part of myself is like, oh my gosh, like I want that type of opportunity. And the only reason why I progressed a lot was because I started to take a chance on myself, even if it wasn't 100%, I was confident. I was like, okay, I'm 50%, I'm 20%, but I want to make it happen. I'm so stubborn. I want to make things happen. So like I would do anything to be successful in what I want in my own life, even if I wasn't 100% confident on it, but you just have to I wouldn't say put a face, but you would just be like, okay, let's just see how it works out. Take a leap of faith, what Spider-Man would say, and just see from there.
I love that. And I love Spider-Man too, so good reference
Yeah.
there.
I love that too.
But remember, audience, with that great power comes great responsibility. When you're making those connections with those companies, how do you approach them, or how do they approach you? Do you just like wait by the phone waiting for somebody to call or somebody to email you, or do you go out there to events, network with people, connect with people? What does that process look like for you?
So when I first started out and I didn't have a lot of events going on and I didn't build any communities, what I would do first is go up to a random stranger. This was my exercise, honestly, to gain the confidence to talk to people. Is to go up to a stranger during an event and be like, "Hi, my name is Rhea. I was wondering how your day is. Oh my gosh." Like a little conversation starter, just talking about those small talks and then just going into the process of how they are, just seeing what they're doing. And then those small talks become genuine connections and be like, "Oh my gosh, like I've heard that you went here. I was wondering how that job place is like. I was wondering what your role is," and then eventually they can see the authenticity behind that, because it's not like, oh my gosh, I want a job right away. It's more so like you're getting to know this person in a way it's like a friend. That's how I go about it. That's how I go about my casualness. So it's like, yeah. And then as I started to build more communities and events and what I want to do, these people or companies or like I would say professionals would go up to me during these events or like after hosting events, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that was a great speech." And I was like, "Thank you for coming. Like, honestly, thank you for coming, for taking the time of your day, appreciating that, like it's working hours and they came out of their time to come to these community events and appreciating the moment that they've took the effort to do that." And usually like, yeah, like I just come about it as like, how do you talk to your friend? Because if you're too professional and be like, "Hi, my name here," and then like resume, all this and that, it comes off like very like awkward. But if you kind of talk it like a coffee chat, or what we're doing right now is a spotlight session, I think they would be more chill, and they're like, "Hey, like we saw that you do content creation." I'm like, "Yeah, I do content creation. I've also done host events. I've done graphic design, as you can see here." And they're like, and they start to pick up the skills that I've had, and they're like, "Wait, you know what? You're a pretty chill person. We want to work with you." And I'm like, "Bet, let's work together. Let's see where it aligns." And those are how I was able to create. Um, that's how I was able to make so many good connections with people, because due to the fact that I wasn't desperate, but also I kind of like I wasn't I wasn't desperate, but also like um our talks was more so like a casual friend vibe. That's what I would say.
There's really no formula for networking, right? It's just
Mm-mm, mm.
just focusing on just making that having that friendly chat, right? Just having that conversation and just seeing where it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I can understand like during these networking events, these professionals are already like, okay, there's another person that's gonna ask for my resume, and another person a resume and everything and all this and that. And I understand it's very tiring, because I know a lot of these creatives want an opportunity, and I love that. Like, go for it. I think what stood me out the most was the fact that um I knew it was gonna take time. I knew it was gonna take a long process to get some opportunities, but I was patient enough to be like, "You know what? I'm gonna check up on this professional and be like, hey, can we do a coffee chat? Like, hey, I noticed I'm doing," like, you kind of have to update them about your life a little bit, and you're like, "Hey, like, I've been recently getting myself into this new project. I was wondering how, like, how I can upgrade, or how I can do something better." And during those little small conversations and updates in your life, they're like, hey, like they become your friend, I would say, become your friend or someone that they're like, oh wow, this person's actually updating me about what they're doing with their creative life. And that's where the authenticity comes in. And then that's where opportunities start to come in because there's always a saying, the more you show up, the more they're going to notice you. And that's when opportunities start happening.
And I think that's also plays into the importance of the follow up after you meet somebody, right? Because, like you touched on, they're going to forget about you unless you give them a reason to remember you. That takes work, right? That takes, communication, messaging.
It really does. I take the time out of my day to look through my emails and see which people I need to update. There's some more emails that I have to update with other people, but I take my time to be like, okay, I need to update this person. I want to see how they're doing. Sometimes when I'm like late on a specific email or like some work or like a community event, I always communicate and I always tell them, hey, there's this thing that's been happening for the next few days. I won't be available, but I'll just let you know that I'm on standby and I'll come around again. But let me know. And then it's always those communications, like even if it's simple, but the fact that you're taking the time to tell them beforehand or a day before or like a week before, they're like, oh my gosh, this person is communicative. They're always on top of their game. And then they're like, they trust that.
Elizabeth in the audience asked, do you use like a spreadsheet for tracking, these contacts, or do you have a way to keep track of everybody that you meet?
You know what's funny? I regularly just go through my emails and see which people I need to update. I don't have a spreadsheet, so it's like a mental note sometimes, but um, there are things in my mind where I'm like, okay, I probably need a spreadsheet, but at the moment, um, I don't have one. I try my best to, when someone sends me an email, usually I would try to get back to them in a week or probably a few days, but if it's like really urgent, I try to get back to them in the same day. So to keep that connection. And then sometimes like, these are little things that I think should be implemented with follow up with people is that if you really find like if you had a really good night or a great event with a creative professional, just DM them on Instagram or whatever social and be like, hey, I had a great time. I had such a great time talking to you. We had such a great conversation. I would love to see if is there anything that I can help out with, or like, is there anything that we can do a coffee chat just to continue this conversation after that night or an event? Because those things are very genuine.
All right, so let's talk about some of these in-person events that you had mentioned, because I know you've also worked as an MC, hosting events, and what does that take? What does it take to step into that role and hold the attention of a live audience? Because even though to some of you listening right now, it certainly sounds easy, but it certainly is not.
It is hard. It is hard. It's not hard, I would say, but it takes a lot of experience and a lot of trial and error being on stage and making mistakes. Sometimes you would have a hiccup on stage and you'd be like, okay, guys, like, I'm so sorry. Like, you kind of have to laugh it off. You can't just like be like, after a hiccup, you can't just like stand still and like look at everyone and then expect that it's going to be all right. So, what started out as a volunteer type of thing by back in college because I was like, everyone was like, how do we? It was something for me where I was back in college. I was like, I want to do events. I want to do community events. I want to help out and everything. So I just like volunteered doing an MC whenever there's like a holiday parties, Halloween parties, and everything like that. But then it started getting serious when I started joining like Hello World Studio, where we have guest speakers and then sometimes like the founder or the team would be like, hey, we need someone to like host these speakers or anything like that. And I would volunteer and be like, you know what? I think this would be a great way for me to learn how to be confident on stage and learn my public speaking skills. But also at the same time, it kind of helps me be a little bit more eloquent whenever I speak. So it was scary at first. I would volunteer and be like, I will do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. And then what I've realized being on stage is that everyone relies on your energy. If the host isn't as active or isn't as energetic or isn't like welcoming, you can tell a shift between someone who is setting the tone versus someone who is just there reading a script. Because I have a script, of course, but I kind of, with my personality, I'm like, okay, like how do I make this fun? How do I engage the people? Like you kind of, it's like in the moment, how do you bring these people in? So yeah, it's hard because it's like, yeah, you have a script, but like how do you make it creative being on stage? And the moment when I started becoming more comfortable on stage and setting the tone, it's also what you mentioned, being confident. You have to really be confident on your energy because people rely on that, as I mentioned. So recently, like I've hosted like smaller events, but then I've also hosted like bigger events like summits where we had like 100 people come by or 70 people come by. And let me tell you, the crowd was pretty silent. They were quiet, but it made me realize this was gonna be a very fun challenge, but then to see to see how what will happen after. And you know what? After that summit, people came up to the team and I and they were like, "Oh my gosh, that was such a great summit." Like that the energy was amazing. And that's how I know I did my job. That's how I know I did my job. There were moments I had hiccups. There were moments where things didn't work out, and then sometimes I would have to improv questions for a Q&A session for another speaker. And I was like, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like how were you able to think so quickly and how do this?" And I was like telling myself, if you're in a place where you had to think really quickly, just do it. Like, don't. I know there were moments I would want to break down, but at the moment I was like, no, we're gonna break down after the summit. But like at the moment, just do what you can do. Do what would fun Rhea do? What would she do to bring into the energy?
All right, so this question comes in from Soph in the audience, who is doing an assignment for a digital media class based on this event. And they ask, how did you realize your purpose was in content creation?
I didn't realize until I started doing community. Um, when I started doing community and then I was like, okay, I'm starting to do community and everything, but how do I put that into content creation? Because I know everyone watches videos. I know everyone wants to feel some type of relatability with videos and everything. That's why I started interacting. That's why I started doing community and content creation because once I put the vibe out there in my content creations, like what I would say my strength is that I love taking videos of people's happiest moments. I love it when there's these events and I just like shoot videos of people interacting, getting to know one another and everything like that. And when I see those smiles on camera, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be such great content. And that's how it kind of like built up. I curate my videos to show people's genuine moments when they're interacting with one another through communities and content creation. So, yeah, like I would say community has paved a path for me for content creation. And also at the same time, I'm playing around with storytelling too. So, yeah.
Julia in the audience asks, you talked a lot about third spaces as environments for creatives to come together. If you could create and design your dream RIA third space, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, that one. Oh, I would have an late night dinner sessions actually with creatives. Like I would want to bring them and invite them to like, a small humble place like a restaurant or probably like my home, I would say, and be like, "Hey, let's do a night chat. Like let's talk about what your recent project with is and then like have like a dinner session with them." And it brings up a lot of because they always say food food is where your heart is. And also I love food and also at the same time um yeah, like it just feels homey. You feel like you're with people and friends that you really care about, and that's where a lot of the conversation starts happening, like the comfortability starts happening. People open up about like, oh my gosh, like have you thought about this idea? Have you thought about this idea? And then friendships start blossoming. So yeah, I like to make things feel like home for a lot of people because I know it's not common for a lot. So I try to bring that in to anything that I do community events with.
And shout out to Julia Walk for being your mentor. Again, I think that's just so cool. How valuable is having a mentor, Ria?
Oh my gosh. It's needed because there are moments where I don't know how to do like there's some things in my portfolio that I need to still update, but getting insights on what the industry is, getting insights on what I need support on, especially is what I've been really needing to is what I've been really needing in my life because sometimes I work alone, like sometimes I do things alone. So having a mentor who's really experienced in the industry and what I should work on or what should I get myself to do, projects to do, has been really beneficial because as a young creative, it does get lonely. So having someone that steps in to give you support in any way, shape, or form, however you want to shape your creative path and them supporting you is needed, especially for a lot of creatives.
How has the experience been for you working with Julia as your mentor?
I would say amazing because I was able to talk about a lot of things that, like as a creative that I would be insecure about and then how I would face it, how I would be confident. Times where I would ask sometimes about how to do things, how to build my portfolio from content creation versus graphic design standpoint because I'm starting to do content creation and I'm doing graphic design. So sometimes I'm confused, like where I was asking to myself, how do I build a portfolio that showcases both my content creation side and a graphic design side? So we've talked about that. We also talk about like um, things where what we can do for like projects or anything like that. So it's been really well. It's needed for me, especially as I'm still an early career creative, still figuring out with many of the opportunities I've given. So having someone who's more experienced than me and giving me their insights has been really beneficial because sometimes you don't have that person. So having that mentor really shapes that and find direction.
Mm. Okay, now Julia, please leave the room so Ria can tell us how they really feel about the experience. No, just kidding. All right. Well, how did you go about connecting with Julia? Because a lot of times creatives have a tough time asking somebody to be their mentor or even finding mentors. Like how did you connect with Julia? How did that opportunity come about?
So that came around when I finished my project with a social media content creation project with Adobe. And they were like, hey, do you want to find someone that you want to connect with? And Julia was one of them because I saw that she did social media and I do social media. I'm starting to do social media. And I saw that she did a graphic design background. I was like, you know what? I want to see where this can lead. I want to see how her experience is with doing social media and graphic design and how she navigated her way doing videos, but then also like how to connect with people throughout. So yeah, like I felt like there was a similarity on that part that we were both in a digital world of doing content creation and doing design.
Now, if you are new to the Adobe Creative Career Discord, I'd like to take a moment to share one of the coolest things we're working on right now, and that would be the Adobe Creative Apprenticeship program. This program connects aspiring creative people like you with top creative companies providing the actual training and experience that you need, which also looks amazing on a resume. Think of it like the ultimate internship meets mentorship opportunity. But wait, that's not all. You see, there is another aspect to the program, and it's called commissioned projects. This is where you can get even more experience working on an actual paid project with Adobe. Yes, that's right, Adobe as your first client. Seriously. The details on the Creative Apprenticeship program, the commissioned projects, and more incredible career resources can all be found at behance.net/resources. That's behance.net/resources. Now, Rhea, as a result of your creative apprenticeship, you'll be working directly with Joseph Soto, who is president of AIGA Los Angeles, who we will actually be having on spotlight sessions later this year. But since you've literally just begun to work with him, let's focus more on how you got into the project. To get into the creative apprenticeship program, right? You have to go through steps. And one of those steps, the early step, is to complete a commissioned project. But how did you, first off, how did you find out about the commissioned projects? And what did it take to actually get accepted and selected for the commissioned project?
Okay, so fun fact was the fact that back in college, I was invited to Adobe's retreats by my professors. So I was able to get into contacts with some of the Adobe people. And from then on, what was funny was the fact that when one of the Adobe people were mentioning that they were opening up their apprenticeship program, and I was doing a lot of communities, I reached out to them and I was like, hey, like, this is such a great apprenticeship. I was wondering if I can bring some people in, like, from my communities to start, applying to these apprenticeships that you guys are newly developing. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is great because, like, like intersecting both community people who want to find opportunities and then people who already have those opportunities, I felt like was a great fit for me to help those people like have a starting point. Then what happened was the fact that um I saw one commission project that was going to be in Los Angeles, and I've already had some experience with some content creation here and there, and I reached out to when it was still early on, I reached out to one of the Adobe teams and I was like, hey, like I was wondering if I can do this. Like I know I've been helping out with a community a lot, but this seems so cool to do the LA project. And they were like, oh my gosh, do you want to do it? And I'm like, of course I would want to do it. So that's how I started doing the Behance thing. And then I started putting my work in Behance. They told me how to do it. I did all of the videos that I had to watch, the guide videos, and starting to put all my work from the communities, all of the community content creations I've created, added to Behance. And that's when the commission projects started to reach out to me and they're like, oh my gosh, like this is what we've been looking for, especially for our events. And that's where the intersection happens because um, I think the videos that I posted where I showed a vibe of people having fun was what Adobe wanted also for their Los Angeles event. After that, I would say project, I sent it out to them. They loved it. They posted it on Adobe Live. I see it sometimes and I'm like, ah, I'm so proud of that work. And after that, like I was still looking for other like after the commissions, there was a portal that I was able to get access to a lot of more job opportunities within the apprenticeship program. And I applied here and there, but then I saw one which really aligned to me, which was AIGA, because it was talking about communities. It talked about having to do graphics for them. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put my foot in there. Like, and as someone who is that goes one step above for what I usually do when I do my hiring, when I do my applications, is that um what happened was that I already knew Joseph beforehand, and I was like, I went to the AIJ events, and I was like, hey Joseph, like I know there was like an opportunity, like this was way before the application happened. I was like, yo, like I was like wondering if I can help out with AIGA, like if in the future or if something happens. And it was like the right timing and right place where they posted that on their apprenticeship. And I was like, I reached out to them on LinkedIn. I reached out to the AIGA board members, and I was like, hey, this is me again. Sorry to bother you. Actually, like, I want to see if there is some alignment that we can do. So yeah, it's always like follow up where I'm like, hey, I'm really interested. Like that one step forward, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna take a chance on you, and that's how I am right now.
Wow. That's a pretty amazing story. And audience, it's all through this program. I'm telling you, it unlocks doors, it opens them for you. If you're having a hard time getting your foot into the industry, landing that first job, this is going to give you such great experience to put on a resume, to put on a LinkedIn page. Heck, for all you know, you might be sitting here talking with me on another spotlight sessions when we'll talk about your journey. But there's so many awesome perks to this program. And one of the perks of the program, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, Rhea, you get to attend Adobe Max for free this year. Is that true?
Yes. So I'll be helping out with AIGA and Adobe Max, which is really interesting because you guys can come by too and say hi to me when I'm there in the booth. So I'm excited. I'm actually pretty excited. Never would I have thought that Adobe would invite me, but here I am. And I'm just like I'm ecstatic, honestly, because I attended Adobe Max as a student. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great, but I can't afford this for next year. So I was like, you know what? I'll see how I can go about it. And the next thing you know it, like I got invited for this year, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put my foot in there and help more creatives and see them. And this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yes. And to those of you who are in the audience, Rhea brings up a great point here. Okay. If you attend Adobe Max, I won't lie, it's not cheap. But if you're a student, it is a lot more affordable. I mean, tremendously more affordable. So if you're a student listening to this program right now and you haven't heard of Adobe Max, you're going to want to take advantage of this. It is the creativity conference. Okay. Each year it's held in a different city, but more often than not on the West Coast in LA, which is where it will be held at the end of October. So for more details, check out max.adobe.com and register for it. And if you're attending virtually, it's free. But if you want to attend in person, which is what I highly recommend doing because there are a lot more offerings that way, then you must make arrangements or convince your employer to send you. In fact, if you need help with that, they even have a template you can use to start with. In fact, I'm dropping a link in the chat right now to the template letter that you can download. It's at max.adobe.com/attend. Scroll down to the bottom where it says convince your boss and download that little letter there. That'll give you a nice template to start from. You can convince your employer, they'll send you. It'll be on the company dime. You don't have to tell them where you heard that information from. It'll be our little secret. But you can meet Rhea live in person at Adobe Max this year. Um, what I heard that you might be involved with some other projects. Um, can you get into details about that?
So I think recently, AIGA is going to be hosting their design conference sometime in October, which I'll also attend to if I get the chance, but I'm excited for that part. Another thing is that I like monthly events with Creative Run Club, so there's also projects with that part where I just do graphics. And yeah, like supporting AIGA with their community events and how to elevate their experiences on bringing more young creatives through, like, I would say October is like the busiest year, what I've heard from them. So we're ramping that up with events. So yeah, I'm excited for that part.
Why is helping emerging designers get opportunities something that's so important to you?
I never went to an art school. I never went to an art school. I went to community college. I took the track of going to Cal State. And honestly, like, because it was very affordable. It was very affordable for me to go to that route. And it was the moment where I knew it was going to be hard finding opportunities if I didn't go into an art school. So, but other than that, I felt like, you know what, whatever I had in my plate, whatever I had during my time, during my college years, I'm going to make the most out of it. I would take part-time jobs of like being a graphic designer within campus to get that experience. But then also I would go to so many creative events and put myself out there because I really knew that that was like the one thing that I was really confident in because um if I didn't have the resources, I will just seek the resources out. I will go to these events. I will book or RSVP for a creative session just to talk to these professionals and ask them. And that's how I kind of like made connections along the way, and so many people got to know me to be who I am because it really is about if you have the effort and time and showing up. Because, yeah, like no matter what background you are, if you're very persistent on wanting your goal, you will make it happen.
I love that. Kind of like manifesting your future, right? It's like the more positive you are, the more it will attract positive things. And I can certainly attest to that. Yeah, and to those of you who are listening who may be a little frustrated with the job hunting process, with being rejected by all these companies over and over and over again, like we know how that feels. And that's why we also wanted to start this Discord, this Adobe Creative Career Discord, because in school, you can learn the skills, you can learn how to use the software, you can watch tutorials on YouTube, you can get all that knowledge, right? But having the real world experience, hearing firsthand from people in the industry, gaining that valuable insight that they don't teach you in schools, that's what we're creating here. And that's what we're trying to provide with all of the incredible content here on the server in the Adobe Creative Apprenticeship program with some of the great mentors that are here now who are tuning into this broadcast, like Jenna Marble, who I see in the audience right there. Um, there's so many things, and it's all free for you guys. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that. I didn't have it when I was attending school. That's why I love being part of this program because I'm like you, Rhea. Like, I believe in paying it forward, helping people because we didn't have that help before. Looking ahead, as you begin working with Joseph Soto and the AIGA in Los Angeles, what do you hope to take away from your time in the Creative Apprenticeship program? And how do you see it shaping your career moving forward?
I think one takeaway that I want to take away from the Creative Apprenticeship program is to elevate my design skills, honestly. But elevate my design skills, be able to work alongside with other industry professionals and everything. It's great. I think another takeaway is did my did my time during the Creative Apprenticeship program through the community events help inspire at least a few people to join to join in the apprenticeship program, but then also at the same time, help them find opportunities. Definitely help them find opportunities while I also do design too and elevate my own technical skills. So there's like a personal, like, a soulful purpose, but then there's also the technical skill part where I'm like, I want to upgrade myself more and learn how to be a designer and content creator.
Juan in the audience says, very inspirational. Thank you for sharing. And again, audience, if you want to meet Rhea in person, check out Adobe Max. It's in October. It's at the end of October, especially if you're on the West Coast out in LA. You don't have an excuse not to be there. Okay. So just show up. It's great. And at the very least, sign up for the free virtual part of it because that's free. You can sit in with all the sessions and all that stuff. Let me ask you, Rhea, what year did you attend Max when you were a student?
So I attended Max around, if I am correct, around 2023, 2024, around there. If I'm, I need, yeah, like around that time. So it's been recent, like around 2 years ago or 1 year ago, around there.
What was your favorite part of it?
Oh my gosh, my favorite part, not only about the food too, the food is great.
Hmm.
But there was this one session where Aaron Draplin was talking about his creative life journey, like on the big stage. Um, that one was very inspirational. I still have photos of that and I still sometimes look over at it. Um, because it really talks about how his experience was as a designer. But then there was another part where, I think at the very end of Adobe Max, they were talking about um, the different new features that was going to pop up for Adobe. That was amazing. The crowd was going wild, and there was also the after party. So, like right next to the conference, there was like a whole session where people were able to interact with one another outside of the venue, and it was fun. It was fun overall. And then I heard there was like a music concert too. So yeah, like gonna it's gonna be a whole wonderful 3-day event of not only talking about the lectures of what sessions you want to get into, but also a little bit of fun too.
Everything we talked about tonight with regard to the Adobe Creative Apprenticeship program can be found at behance.net/resources. And for those of you who are just tuning in, or maybe you fell asleep to my soothing ASMR voice, here's a quick recap if you want to take advantage of this incredible opportunity. Are you ready? Are you ready? Ready? Okay, here's what you do. The first step, you go to the website I mentioned earlier. Again, behance.net/resources. From there, you complete one of the free courses under the career guide section. That is important. You got to do that first. All right. Then you set up your Behance page with some design pieces that you've created. You add some information about yourself. You really make it look good and stand out. Think of it like a mini portfolio site that you would send out to prospective employers. Then you can apply to any one of the paid commission projects, which new ones are always being added. So check back daily if you don't see something that aligns with your interests. Now, after you apply, each application is reviewed by a real live human being. It's not an AI algorithm. And the ideal candidate is chosen based on their pitch and their Behance page. So, as of right now, the program is only open to students, recent grads, or early career creatives residing in the US, UK, Canada. But if you're selected for a commission project, then you are provided the opportunity to connect with one of the amazing mentors that we have in the team. These are vetted and handpicked industry pros who are there to give you feedback and guidance in your career journey. It's really an invaluable resource that I cannot tell you how tremendously helpful it is. And it's something that schools just don't offer. Once you're selected for and you complete that commission project, you're now eligible to apply to the Creative Apprenticeship Program. This is the final step, the top tier step, the exclusive step, which very few will get into. Unfortunately, because it is a lot more limited, but you get to potentially work with some amazing employers on some actual projects. It's not like an internship, okay, where you're doing boring, mundane work. You're not fetching someone's coffee or responding to emails. These are actual, real, exciting projects you're contributing to and you're being a part of. So don't miss out on these incredible opportunities. Again, it's behance.net/resources for more details. Rhea, let me ask you something. When you were setting up your Behance page, okay,
Mhm,
there's a lot that goes into it.
mhm.
Um, what are some tips you can give to the audience in order to improve their Behance page, not just for this program, but for attracting maybe freelance clients out there? How can they
Okay.
set up their Behance page for success?
I would say put your best works in there also. I think that's pretty um it's been talked about, like, definitely put your works in there, ones that you really enjoy doing. Another one would be, like, don't put too much of your information in there. Don't put, like, all of the date like, you can put all the data, but try to think of it as a viewer where you don't wanna be bombarded with so much information. Put in, like, the most important points of what you did for your project, the behind the scenes, and, like, your finalized progress with it, because as someone who looks through portfolios, sometimes some people put a lot of information in there, and sometimes I'm like, okay, like, this is great, but can we condense it a bit? Or sometimes people don't put enough, and I'm like always wondering, like, oh, like, how they do this or how they do that. So it's always a middle where it's like, put your best work in there, um put things that you do enjoy, but also balance it out with not so much information, but, like, also give relevant details.
And let me ask you this, your online name, which is your
Yes.
Instagram name, right?
Yes.
Romi Catalog. Where did that originate from? Is there a story behind the name? I'm fascinated with origins.
Yes. Okay, so fun fact was that I got that name back in middle school, middle school, by my French teacher. So it's called Romi. It was supposed to be with a Y, but I was like, you know what? I want to go with an I. So that's how it ended up becoming. And I don't know, like, there's this part of me where there's Rhea as a person. I like, yeah, like me being me, just walking around, being a friend. But then there's Romy, who's the content creator version of me, where she's more outgoing, she's more MC type of way. And I like this part because it's like sometimes if I mix Rhea and Romy together, it's like a lot. So it's like I have this social media or like my content creator side. That's still me, but in a different persona, I would say. So it's like I have a character that always I have a character that I can always like do and be around with. So yeah, like that's where Romy is, and I enjoy the fact that it's like a video game character. Like I can always personalize who she is or them. Yeah.
If the current Rhea today could say something to the Rhea from, I don't know, 5 years ago, what would they say?
Oh my gosh. I love this question because I did a in my Instagram, I did a designer blog for 2 years showing the progress and failures and experiences I've done. So 5 years ago me would be very insecure, very non-confident. They would be wondering if I ever got a job in the creative field and whatever choices I would make. But here I am now where I'm like, it's gonna be okay. Just do what you've been doing, talk to people as a friend, make connections, volunteer a lot. I'm emphasizing this a lot. Volunteer a lot for a lot of creative things. Even if you cannot find an opportunity, finding a place where you can volunteer and be part of will definitely open doors because it really puts up your foot in there to be part of a community. Another part is that trust your gut. Even despite no matter what people say about what your creative path is, if you really believe that you can achieve it, even despite how many times it's going to be not successful, it will always be there. Another part is that definitely if you feel like you need to take up part-time jobs to even support your goals or careers, do that too. Because in the end of the day, always you will eventually lead to that. You will eventually lead to where you are right now. And definitely have a manifestation board. I have a manifestation board, so like whenever I have a goal, I'm like, okay, I will achieve this goal by, and it usually does happen. So yeah. And here I am. I built up where I am right now because due to the fact that the struggles I faced, the things that I've been always wanting, taking up a lot of things, and my vision board brought it to reality. And I would say like I'm really happy for where I am right now because I've helped a lot of people, a lot of young creatives get opportunities. But then at the same time, I've also gained opportunities myself where I'm really grateful for it and the people who have supported me.
I love that. That is great. Well, look, now you can add completing your very first podcast episode to your
Yay!
yep, to your experience there. That about wraps it for this episode of Spotlight Sessions. Again, I'd like to thank my guest, Rhea Rendon, for joining us tonight to discuss her incredible career journey. Be sure to connect with Rhea on LinkedIn or on Instagram under the username Romi.catalog. That's Romi, ROMI catalog, CATALOG, Romi.catalog. But links are posted in the show chat or in the show notes for those of you listening on demand. And if you enjoyed this program, catch all the latest updates for the next Spotlight sessions and all the great content we have here in the Adobe Creative Career Discord by following the upcoming events calendar located at the top of the server so you can see what's coming next. I also want to thank my new producer, Catherine Chu, Lisa Temple, live moderator, Elizabeth, mentors, Jenna Marble and Julia Walk for accompanying us in the live audience tonight, and the entire Adobe crew for sponsoring this program and helping to bring it alive. And thank you, Discord community, and to everyone who tuned in to listen to me, your host, Justin Bamforth. You can always catch me on Discord, LinkedIn, or on my website, justinbamforth.com. Until next time, everyone, take care.
Thank you.
For more conversations with creative professionals, subscribe to the Spotlight Sessions podcast or check out the Adobe Creative Career Discord. Links are posted in the show notes.